Hello, everyone. I'm Marty Janeski, and along with my good friend Ken Montroy. We're your host of the local sports wrap-up here on Wyandotte Cable Channel 15. Today is November 18th, a Monday. Ken, how was your week, sir?
Pretty good. And by the way, I see you still have your whiskers.
Yeah. I'm going on vacation next week. I think when we film on Friday, it'll be gone.
Just by any chance, is it a Christmas thing? You're going to be the Santa?
No, it was a Halloween thing.
Well, if you wouldn't dye it, it'd be getting white.
Remember, Yoko? I was John Lennon.
Oh, that's true.
You forget so quickly.
Well, I know. Well, we did a lot of drugs back then.
Well, yes, we did. Today we have a special guest. His name is Mike Horn, and he is the golf coach at Wayne State University. And Mike is going to spend a little bit of time here talking golf. So how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and anytime I can talk golf in the middle of the weather we've got right now, I'm in.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So golf coach at Wayne State. That's not something they would just give anybody. They would be selective. So let's start with how you got that gig.
Well, I played for Wayne State back in the 80s, 81 to 86, and the guy that took me to the national championship, which was Ron Hammy.
He
was
a
basketball
national
coach.
championship?
I was able to go individually as
Nice.
I qualified, and I like to say I came in the national championship and was edged out by Lee Jansen.
Oh.
And no, I don't tell anybody Lee Jansen won, and I finished 72nd. So, but he did edge me by 71
That's quite
spots.
the edger you got on your lawn there, buddy.
Yeah. So, that was a pretty cool experience.
How nice.
to do
Where
that.
was it held at?
That was at Innisbrook down at Copperhead, down in Tampa.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was really a great
How many people
experience.
do qualify for that? Just curious.
I think back then 120, I believe, was the number
120.
that qualified. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Nationwide.
Nationwide, yeah.
And
For Division II.
don't misconstrue this, but Wayne State isn't as populated as some of the other major colleges for the amount of golfers, or is there a set standard of golfers for each school?
No, each school independently can choose how many players that are on their team, and they can have as little as 5, which is the minimum.
Would that be based upon the monies that are allowed for your
Could
golfing?
be. Yeah, could be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it depends on the school. So there are some private schools out there that they're enrollment driven, and when they have more kids on their team, they're getting more money for their program because of more dollars coming in for tuition.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So forth.
All right.
So just to cut back to that, went to get beat up by Lee Jansen, and the guy that took me that year was the basketball coach, Ron Hammy. My golf coach had prior commitments, and long story short, 15 years later, we were in a restaurant, and he became the interim AD, and he's saw me at the restaurant. He's like, "Hey, did you hear about the golf program? Blah blah blah," and 3 weeks later, I had the job.
Were you still involved in golfing at that
I
time?
was still playing actively as an amateur.
Oh, great. And
yeah.
he knew this, so
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah.
So then he sees you. He says, "How would you like the gig? How does it change your daily routine?" Because my bowling just started. Today was tryouts for the girls.
Yeah.
My daily routine for the next 3 weeks is going to change drastically with just by leaving work early on a daily basis, except for Fridays.
Yep.
Or going
So
to
let's
Hawaii.
just talk about how your daily life changed the minute you said, "I'll take that gig."
Well, I took that gig, and they paid a whopping $6,000 as a part-time coach. So $6,000. I went home and talked to my wife and said, "Hey, I can't obviously quit my job to make $6,000." But I went to my boss and rearranged my schedule, and basically rearranged my schedule from 9 to 6 to 7 to 2 or 7 to 3. And then I took vacation days to take the team, and I did that for 3, 4, 5 years until I became full-time. So really a labor of love, and most golf coaches, whatever division other than Division I, are not doing it for the money.
Would you say that's the same? I mean, you came in my shop, that's how we met, but we also have met on your home course. Do you think the golf pros that run those kind of gigs have that same passion? Or it's a whole different beast? Is it a similar beast?
It's a similar beast, I think, but I don't think the average golf pro these days is making a killing. I think if you go to some exclusive clubs, different story. But the regular run-of-the-mill country club and the regular golf club out there. These guys are doing it because they love the game and want to grow the game and help kids get into the game and so forth.
Mike, how long does this take when you say you're the golf course coach? Is it from March till?
Oh, gotcha.
How long's your season?
Well, we start middle of August.
Middle of
we
August?
report middle of August. We practice for about 10 days before school starts. And then once school starts, then we're gone almost every weekend for 6 to 8 weekends up until middle of October. And then NCAA requires that November 1st we stop all team activities. And then we just do workouts and some small stuff at that time. And then we start again February 15th, full practices, and we travel 6 to 8 weekends in a row in March, April, and May, and hopefully we play to the end of May.
That's got to keep a relationship strong. I can see it already.
Yep, oh yeah.
Fantastic.
My wife gets a little edgy when it comes to the last couple of weeks of the season. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Fantastic.
So, hitting it in February, where? You got
indoors.
You got a nice setup at the school. Does Wayne State have a nice gig?
We've got some nice nets that we put in about 6, 8, 10 years ago, and we just built a new weight room. So if you haven't been down to Wayne State to see the new weight room,
Golfers use weight rooms?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Every week, and you'd be amazed on how strong these young ladies are as well. I just coach the men, but then we hit balls inside, and we're building a couple new rooms right now at Wayne State where we're going to have some TrackMan and hitting bays and some data to be able to
Educate Joe Schmo, because I don't understand. You have weights for the golfers. Do you have like wrist rates?
We have all kind of weights. We're doing a lot of core work.
What would it be?
A lot of core work with your abdominals and your back. A lot of leg work. Really trying to get the legs strong because you're driving and pushing off the earth basically to hit that ball far. And when I played 30 years ago, we were told not to hit the weights. Don't touch anything.
Correct.
Do not do
Marty and
anything.
I, when we came through, that was exactly what we understood.
Yeah, and that is,
Great
you
golfer
you
I
can
was.
tell. You can tell I haven't hit the weights, but
Well, the weights have hit you.
it is completely different game now. The guys are athletes. When I recruit, I'm recruiting 3 or 4 sport athletes to become only a golfer in college. So it's kind of a unique situation there too. But I love hockey players. I love tennis players, basketball players, baseball players. They usually translate pretty good to golf.
Wow, how nice.
So recruiting, let's get to that point. Do you downriver recruiting? You get the stud golfer off of Groseville Country Club, or do you go around the general Midwest area? How far have you grabbed a kid from? What's the closest you grabbed a kid from?
Oh, geez, I think the closest kid we've ever grabbed is from Windsor. He actually lived immediately across the bridge. Rob Favaro was a Canadian that was on the team a few years back. He's probably the closest kid. And then farthest away is Illinois, southern Illinois, maybe 3 hours into Canada, towards Toronto, Hamilton area, and all across Michigan, from Muskegon to downriver to Grayling. I've had kids, so all
Do you have
over.
any children? Did you go? That would have been the closest kid you'd have grabbed. He's not in the program.
I did grab him. I have
Well, that's the closest
have-
kid you grabbed.
That's true. I have one son. I take that back. Dylan played for us. He's an assistant coach for us right now. My son Dylan.
Nice.
Shout out to Dylan. He just graduated with his MBA at Wayne State about
Fantastic.
two days ago. So
Fantastic.
he's not only got his undergrad, but he's got his MBA now. So.
So he'll be moving out soon, huh? I'm just kidding.
He moved out a while back. He moved out a while back.
That's good.
And he lives 2 doors down from us. So,
So mom can continue to feed him.
absolutely,
Oh, yeah. Wow,
absolutely.
what's
He's no
cooking?
dummy. He's no dummy.
That works out really
So
well.
yeah, recruiting. I look all over, but with the internet and all the things that you can find on kids across the country and across the world, that has really created a much smaller dynamic to recruit from. You used to think that I had to recruit only around this area, and for years, 15 years ago, I recruited only downriver. I mean, everybody on the team was from Trenton and Riverview and Groseville and Dearborn, and that's kind of dried up a little bit. The the golf wave from Tiger has dried up a little bit. So that's kind of
Speaking of that, he just
restart.
named himself to the team.
He did.
Nice,
He's gonna.
nice.
He's. I can't believe what he's done, and the resurgence he's had. I was not somebody who was calling that one. That's for sure.
Well,
So you think it
fuse
could
a few
continue?
bones together on your back, and it takes all the pain away.
The pain is a major thing. When he was in some of those bunkers and pulling himself up with a club and all that kind of stuff, I could relate to those pains, and he's been amazing to come back from what he has.
That paycheck he was pulling himself up to was to make
Yes.
that trip a lot easier.
Yes. Oh yeah. A lot of zeros. He's got to lift all those zeros.
Right.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Cool.
So we recruit locally, you recruit out. Now, you attend high school tournaments, or do you just kind of look at the results that you get off the internet or off of the Michigan high school athletic websites and
Yeah,
stuff?
I mean that's kind of where I start. I kind of start with the high school tournaments and the regionals and then the state finals. But so much of the recruiting now is done through the summer with the AJGA and all the different avenues that kids can play tournaments in, and the Top 50 tour, the Meyer tour. There's so many little tours that the kids are involved in now.
That would relate to, like, my daughter, we learned about junior gold being the bowling thing, and a lot of scouts are looking at the top finishers there.
So you wanted to make sure you got into that.
Well, we got in late, but we did get in, and we're going to Vegas in July because she qualified again.
Good.
But they did a lot of people paying attention at those things too. But she's already bowling. I mean, club team bowling. But
Recruiting is become really something that's branched outside of the high schools now, where it used to be really a high school thing. Now it's all the different leagues and all the different venues that they have to play in that are really getting looked at.
How many scholarships are you afforded?
D2 men's golf is allowed 3.6, a nice round 3.6.
who gets the
0.6?
point
Yeah.
6?
Who's
Well-
going to get the point two, and point two?
That's what we do. We take
Right.
everything and we kind of divvy it up. Depending on the kid's academic record coming in, he might get some academic money. If he's got other scholarships that are through his parents or through family members that he might know. So very few kids get a full ride to start.
How many kids are on your team as a rule?
We have 15 right now,
15.
which is a little heavy. We'd like to be in the 13 range, 14 range.
Coach, I got to be honest with you, it's a little heavy for the scholarship thing. How can I get a better scholarship?
Well, they can get a better scholarship through a lot of avenues. We also tap into a lot of our business school and engineering school scholarships for them. So one of my goals for all my guys is to have them graduate with very little debt. And so I try to help them manage
for you.
that process.
Good for you.
So that when they get done, and I
They
try
don't-
to advise them on, okay, let's not take out a $20,000 loan just to live in an amazing apartment. Let's do it on the cheap and try to be fiscally responsible. So when they get done, they're starting off their careers not in a hole.
Man, that's got to be tough at such an early age.
Yep. big
Well,
time.
Coach,
you
have
know,
you seen
I
all
like
the girls
that.
here?
I like that because, they are there as students.
Yep.
First and foremost, they're there to get a degree
Very much.
and then get a job.
Yep.
So whether golf takes them to the junior tours and they get to make money playing golf, that would be great, wouldn't it?
That'd be great. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it's a small percentage.
Small
It's
pool.
Yes. So they're getting them their degree in whatever they start out with, whether it's business, whether it's medical, whether it's,
We have being downtown and in Midtown where there's so much going on with the Dan Gilberts and the Illiches and the revitalization of Detroit. There's so many internships that we're able to get the kids attached to and try to get them, in a place that they're going to be successful and can try out, maybe a job or two before they graduate. I don't think we've had a kid that has been trying to get an internship that hasn't gotten one. So it's really, really nice, all the connections we've made that I've
nice.
been lucky to make.
And as
over
long
the
as
last
you've
20
been
years.
there, you know how to funnel them in the right areas because you're robbing
Right.
Peter to pay Paul, correct? You're using the monies that are available.
Trying to use the money the best possible way we can.
a little
Right,
different
and-
term. Mike.
We're not robbing anybody, but
But yes, he's been doing it long enough to
Yeah.
know which way to go. In that area, you're right. That area has gotten business investors,
yep.
and they have put their headquarters there, and so therefore, yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Got another question.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a Wyandotte Roosevelt high schooler?
I
show's over.
think I can go one step better.
Better.
We had the Matroka brothers who played for us, and John Matroka was the coach at Wyandotte, I believe, back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. So
I can't
Look
mistake
us
you.
for verification.
They-
All I know is his name's Marty.
they lived in Riverview, but I believe John taught at Wyandotte, and then I believe his son John, we called him Jack, but when Jack graduated, Jack was teaching at Wyandotte as well, and then was a golf coach for a year or two there as well. So
Fantastic. Now those are the stories we're looking for because
There
there's a
you go.
local program.
there you go.
Fantastic.
So we've had a lot of guys downriver. So our best player of all time is Steve Kuzort, who is from Groseal. He played for us.
Steve
in-
Kuzart?
Kuzort.
Is that
I've
you say
heard that name.
Kuzort.
You want a Michigan
C-O-Z-A-R-T,
amateur,
right?
Yeah, Cuzzort.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
he win a Michigan amateur?
His brother, I believe, did.
that's where I knew the
Steve
name.
Steve was at Michigan State and then transferred to Wayne State his senior year, and he won 6 tournaments for us. His 1 year with us, he won the conference, he won the super regional, and he finished 5th at the national championship that year.
Nice.
And then one of our best players, I always caveat that Steve was our best player of all time for 1 year. Joe Jussick, who went to Divine Child, which is still close. Joe was our best 4-year player of all time, and Joe's playing professionally right now. So
He is?
Yep.
When did he graduate?
he graduated in 09 or 010, and he's been playing professionally, and it's a long, hard climb out
I
there
bet.
to make
I
it.
bet.
So
A lot of competition.
he's doing well, but he's still struggling.
It's, first you hit the junior tours, then you graduate up if you're lucky, but them
Gotta
guys
have
are
some
good.
breaks.
They're good.
They're-
You got to have
them-
some breaks.
Them guys
Yep.
can all stripe it.
Yep.
And then it
Yep.
comes down to a putting contest, and
No doubt.
it's an amazing battle. And it's no different than an NFL kid or any of that. It's one out of hundreds of thousands
Yep.
that
yep.
get there.
The numbers are staggering, and if I go through the 20 years of coaching and I look at all the kids that played in our region, and that's 40 teams in our region, none of those kids have made it, and there's been some studs that have come out of our region and that played for Indianapolis or Findlay, Ohio, or Missouri St. Louis or Grand Valley, along with our guys. Just really, really good players, and to make it professionally is really a hard gig. So if you look at Jordan Spieth, when he came out of school and he basically got a couple sponsors exemptions to play right away, that's a huge benefit, because the average kid that doesn't, the average kid out of Wayne State's not going to get that.
No.
Kid that's out of Texas is going to have those kind of those
Luxuries
opportunities.
to be able to keep practicing
Yeah.
while you're making your bills and
Yep.
making some money.
Yep. So
And
really
the
cool.
sponsor exemption's huge, and they host a tournament. They're allowed X amount of throw this kid in and see what he does.
If you notice, John Daly gets a lot of sponsors exemptions because he's a name. And even though John Daly is probably not the player, half the player that some of these guys are now, he used to be, of course, but he's that name. He's going to draw the people to come and buy tickets and
Drink
He's
beer.
an
and drink
entertainer.
beer.
Absolutely.
He's an entertainer, absolutely. So some of those young kids really would benefit from those sponsors exemptions.
Shooter
and,
McGavin.
and they're just not going to get those. Shooter McGavin.
Love it. Love it. So, your home course. Where's your home course in this area?
TPC of Michigan.
Ah, nice track.
Great track.
How'd you swing that one?
Well, one of our players, his father was the head of grounds for Club Corp in the Midwest, and one thing led to another, and we were playing at Detroit Golf Club, which is no slouch,
No.
but we were starting a ladies team, and at that point, with 2 teams at Detroit Golf Club, just too hard to get that many kids on the golf course.
And they don't want women there anyway.
The women are at
Well, they do,
women
but
are
it's
at
in that
Detroit
back
Golf Club. The women are at Detroit Golf Club,
I'm
and
teasing. I'm teasing. Don't hold it against me.
So am I.
and so we ended up hooking on at TPC of Michigan, and then even recently the Detroit Sports Commission has put a bid in, and we're hosting the national championship. 2021, we're hosting the national championship for women at TPC, and the men in 2022,
Sweet.
which is going to be really cool.
That's
to have
They'll
that.
need volunteers. Maybe
Yes,
I'll
we will. We'll
volunteer.
need volunteers. Let's sign up now.
So are they good? They're good to you there, obviously.
They're
good to you.
Heath Morton, the pro there, is really good to us. We try to reciprocate. We do a lot of charitable stuff for them, and we have our outing there, and we have a tournament there. So we certainly want to try to support them as best we can.
Nice.
Like it. So, okay, so we play there. Now, let's talk about success you've had. I mean, you have a league. To win a league, is it just like everything else? You've got or is it always a regional tournament where people go?
Well, the conference in most NCAA sports, you're going to have your automatic bids are going to be your conference winners. So we have 3 conferences in our region. We have the Great Lakes Intercollegiate, which we're part of. There's 11 teams in that. Then we have the Great Lakes Valley Conference, which is basically Kentucky, Missouri, those schools. And then the Great Midwest Conference, which is part of West Virginia, Ohio, some of the stuff a little more east. So those automatic bids come to those 3 winning teams, and that's in the spring. And then there's 7 at-large teams that get picked through all the tournaments you play all year, and that's what we've really had success with this fall. We're number 1 in the region after the fall,
Nice.
and hopefully we can capitalize with that with a conference championship come the spring.
So when I guess I'm a little confused. I'll be the Joe Schmo now. So you don't, when you guys all are at an event, is that how it judges if you finish ahead of them, or are you meeting and just playing them, your school against theirs at their home course?
You're playing invitationals. The smallest event we've had all year has been 7 teams. The biggest event we've had has been 27 teams.
So they take those teams in that conference, and depending where you finish, that's how you rank in the conference?
Yeah, basically.
Roughly?
So GolfStat is the governing body of college golf. So Division I, Division II, Division III, junior college, all goes into GolfStat, GOLFSTAT. And if you look on GolfStat, if you go on golfstat.com, you can look up Division I, Division II, Division III, and it'll rank every single team in all those divisions. And we are ranked 31st right now after the fall, so pretty nice.
Pretty impressive.
Pretty
And
nice
that's
fall.
D2, right?
That's D2. There's about 330 schools in D2.
Wow.
They don't all have golf, but most of them do. I think there's 270 or 280 that have golf.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's get to that. Now, you've won a few things, obviously. You're ranked number 1 into the spring. So we worked the kids out all winter long. Where do we open? Where do we start? Where are you heading?
We start in February practicing,
Right.
and the NCAA changed their rules 3 years ago, which is really nice, really for the northern schools. So we're able to go practice. We can travel wherever we want to go practice starting February 15th. So for the first 3 weekends in the winter there, we travel to wherever the snow line is, kind of try to just go south of the
Pick a
snow
spot,
line.
yes.
Normally it's Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, those areas, and we'll go practice for 2-3 weekends. And then our first tournament is during our spring break, which is in North Carolina. We play at Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Nice.
And that's hosted by Indiana, Pennsylvania. It's all schools from the Northeast. And so I like that tournament because all the schools are in the same boat as us. And then from there we go to Austin, Texas. We play St. Edwards of Texas. We have a home and home with them this year. St. Edwards of Texas is one of our alums, golf team alum, Chris Hill. And they came up to the Motor City this year. And we took care of them at the Motor City.
Nice.
And so we're going to go to Austin, and they're going to try to give it back to us, I'm sure, come March in Austin. And then from there we go to Columbus, Indiana for the Wisconsin Parkside event. Even though it's in Indiana, it's hosted by Wisconsin Parkside because they still have snow. And then we go to Indianapolis for the final regional of the year. The top 18 teams in the region are invited to that, and we'll play in that. And then from there we go to our conference. And then from the conference, after the automatic bids are determined, and then the 7 other teams that are going to be invited, we all go to the Super Regional, and that Super Regional's in Missouri this year.
How
So
sweet.
you have 15, 13 kids on the team. How many actually play? Like how many? You just dress 5 and away they go? You dress 6? How does that work?
We start 5.
Start 5?
So we are lucky to have kind of the schedule where we get to play a lot of kids. So I kind of schedule it that way. In almost all the tournaments we play, I like to bring an extra couple of kids. So normally we're playing 7 kids, 5 starters, 2 kids that are playing as individuals. They can win the tournament themselves. And then we have a lot of B tournaments. So I try to schedule that as well. So if I can schedule a B tournament the same time our top 5 guys are playing, it doesn't count as a play date, and everybody gets to play. And we do have 4 red shirts, so those guys aren't playing this year. So we have 11 active players right now.
Because back problems become an issue, correct?
Oh, heck yeah.
So that's why you would carry some alternates and say, hey, you never
Absolutely.
know, because Eddie's been having a sore back, and if he's going to have a sore back, Mike, you're in.
Wrists, backs, ankles, you know, you name it. This year, I think up until the last event, we didn't play the same lineup the entire fall.
Wow.
Up until our last event.
And you're still 31st? Sweet.
Yeah, that's just because we were very lucky to have guys ready to go and guys playing really well. And I will tell you, every single guy this year, it doesn't happen this way very often. Every single guy that stepped up and got in the lineup played well.
That's good.
And that usually doesn't happen. So
Don't
hats,
pick me.
hats
Don't
off.
pick me.
Hats off to the guys.
So we have to close up now,
Okay,
unfortunately.
give me
Go
one
ahead.
second.
Yeah.
Mike, I just got to ask, you started off with $6,000, right?
$6,000.
Well, I see you brought in some shirts. Has things
3,000
gotten better,
apiece.
or are you selling the shirts for us?
Those are
I
gifts.
mean, I don't know. I didn't see the box.
Those are gifts. Those are gifts. So yeah, no, those we do shirts every year, and those are our latest shirts. That's all.
As you can see, you can reach us at localsportswrapup@gmail.com. We got an email. We did? I sent it, but I wanted to make sure it was working.
I ran into Mike Tirico, and I gave him our card.
Oh, sweet.
NBC.
The Mike Chirico?
The Mike Tirico.
Oh,
From
that'll
Ann
work.
Arbor.
Yeah.
You can also find us on YouTube, obviously. If you YouTube Local Sports Wrap Up, you'll be able to see this show. We will have it on there in a day or two.
Keep your beard.
Yeah, no, it's going bye-bye. The
All
next
right.
show, it'll be gone.
No, bye-bye.
What if I do this, do like a goatee thing?
Me
What do you
too.
think?
Me too.
You know, just like him.
There we go.
So I'm Marty
Some hair,
Janeski
you got more
along.
hair, got less.
I'm Marty Janeski along with my good friend Ken Montroy and Mike, our guest, Mike
Our
Horn.
pleasure.
Thank you for
Yeah, a lot
showing
of
up
fun.
My
and
pleasure.
Hope we're
informing
still
us
friends
about
after this.
golf.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next week on Local Sports Wrap Up. Hi, Mom. And
Hi, Cookie.
today is November 18th.